Peter's valiant return to the Just Baseball show comes in our pitcher free agency preview. We did the hitters as a sports grid.
Oh, no. We're already off to a terrible start. Jack just shorted out. Oh, no, Jack. Oh, no. Not good for the people to start us off. Oh, no. Should I just do the whole pod myself? I got all my predictions. I'm ready to rock. Welcome, everybody, to the Just Baseball show. It's Tuesday, November 11th. We're live here on YouTube. Thanks for everybody coming in.
Brother, how does this happen to me? I'm sorry. I'm back. This is insane because the Wi-Fi speed is good. Like, we pay for Wi-Fi at the apartment complex. It's just happening all the time. There was an hour-long Just Baseball Zoom that I was on yesterday, and I was out of commission for 50 minutes of it. It was unbelievable how horrible my Wi-Fi was. Thanks for joining us, folks. What did you say while I was gone? While I was just slamming my hand on the table trying to get the Wi-Fi right.
I more just said the date. I said that I have a lot of free agent predictions to go through on the pitching side, and that was basically it. It was more me looking at the comment section and all of us collectively laughing at you. It wasn't really anything entertaining.
Did you do the BetMGM thing yet or no?
Did nothing yet. I could do it right now.
Yeah.
Or can we actually intro the show? This is a huge show.
Hold on. Re-rack it, whoosh, and then we're going to do it. Peter's valiant return to the Just Baseball show. We are talking pitchers. We're doing our free agency preview on the pitcher's side. The hitter side was done as a Sports Grid episode on Monday morning. Now we're talking to you on Tuesday evening, and that is how you start a podcast. Jack McMullen, Peter Apple, who we brought to you by
BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JUSTBaseball. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. Just remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. I might feel a little bit rusty. I haven't been on the show over the last 2, maybe even 3 episodes. I was in Denver, Colorado for my buddy's engagement party. Got some good rest, a little break from baseball. But over the last 24 hours, especially riding these planes, getting delayed, I have been in the lab when it comes to free agent predictions. I can't wait. I can't wait to drop some knowledge.
Denver airport, I assume, right?
Garbage.
You flew in and out of Denver?
Hate that airport.
Horrible.
Maybe
the worst airport in America. That and Charlotte are the 2 worst airports in America for me personally. Atlanta and O'Hare are also near the bottom. You have to call O'Hare your home base now. I despise O'Hare.
Flying from Denver to O'Hare was a nightmare.
Horrible.
Midway is better. Midway is way better.
Of course. Yeah.
Smaller, but almost like it. Just because you have a big airport doesn't mean it's good. That just means I have to train from terminal to terminal just to have 4 McDonald's as my choices for food in between.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Best airport in America. What is it?
They all suck. They all
really
suck.
I love Phoenix. Indianapolis is a sneaky great airport, like mid-level. I know
LaGuardia's gotten better, but me personally,
good.
I love my hometown airport in Santa Barbara, California. You get through in 2 minutes.
That doesn't count.
There.
Like the Southern California airport is LAX.
Well, none of the big major airports are any good and worth mentioning. You're sneezing. The internet's going out. Are you ready? I'm ready.
I'm not really ready, but let's talk pitching anyways. We are going to go through the top of the pitching market. We're going to go through the mid-level starting pitchers. We're staying away from Eric Fetty and Patrick Corbin. I'm sorry, people, but we just are staying away. By the way, Randy Dobnak is officially a Seattle Mariner, or should I say a Tacoma Rainier. He signed a minor league deal. Stove is on fire with Randy Dobnak. We're also going to talk about the premier relievers on the market. Edwin Diaz, Pete Fairbanks, Robert Suarez, Ryan Helsley, Devin Williams. We're going to talk about those guys in a moment. But before we do that, I'm going to read you a job description, and you tell me which job I am describing, okay? As racetracks blank, entertain fans while performing in the racetrack blank in-game promotion. This promotion requires the performer to sprint while racing a fan on the field. Must be physically able to participate in the racetrack blank race during this team's home games. Must be physically fit and in good health to endure conditions, including extreme high and low temperatures. Must be able to run during the racetrack blank on-field promotion. What job did I just describe?
Is that the Freeze in Atlanta?
Beat the Freeze is looking for a new The Freeze. The previous The Freeze has officially hung up the cleats in the warning track sprint. So, Peter Apple, I ask you, are you ready to be the new Freeze at Truist Park?
So Colby mentioned that he was going to send me the costume so I could audition. The problem is speed is not the name of my game. Yeah. I'm an incredible podcaster. I was able to tell the world that Cade Horton was not going to win the National League Rookie of the Year towards the tail end of the season, where he put up a 1.05 ERA over his last 12 starts, because I said Drake Baldwin has just had the better year and there is no precedent for a pitcher to throw 118 innings. So I can do that. Speed, I got flat feet. Thanks a lot, Dad. That's the reason we're not talking about me signing a major deal right now, is because I got flat feet. So while I love that I have been nominated, that's not my game, unfortunately.
I understand. It's not my game either. I saw a couple of different reports kind of conflicting on what the credentials were for the Freeze. We are the Josh Naylor of podcasts. Thank you, Uncle Ted. I appreciate that. Also, Froggy Fresh. Do you see his new profile picture? It's just me shorting out, which is awesome.
I think it's from this episode.
It's from today. It's from 5 minutes ago. So that fires me up. Sidious Mag said the original Freeze mascot was Nigel Talton, who was a sprinter, had a personal best 10.47 in the 100 meter and 21.66 in the 200 meter. And then Joe Pompliano, who I love. Apparently, the current mascot is a member of the Braves grounds crew and ran a 4.28 40-yard dash in college. You have to be fast as shit to be the Freeze.
4.28?
John Ross, Chris Johnson level 40-yard dash times.
That blew my mind. I don't even have a take. That's a speechless kind of.
That character always wins.
Always.
It's not like it's a 50-50 split. If you beat the Freeze, you are national news. So you have to be fast as hell, because these contestants get like 100-foot head starts. So of course you have to run like a 4.28. You have to be really fast to be the Freeze. So please let us know if you apply to be the Freeze, and we will absolutely shout you out on the podcast.
Absolutely. 4.28. I can't even comprehend that. I think if I ran a 40 right now, I'd be lucky to get a 6.28.
I think so. That's me too. I remember like the combines, when you watch like the offensive guards or like the nose tackles run, I'm like, I think I could do that. Or you watch Tom Brady's 40 in the archives. I think I could do that too. But let's talk pitching. We've got the top names on the free agent market. Obviously, it's the guys that we've been talking a lot about. Framber Valdez, Dylan Cease, Michael King, Zac Gallen. Those guys litter the top. Tatsuya Imai, who is going to be posted. I don't think he's been officially posted just yet, but he's ready to be posted. Munetaka Murakami has officially been posted at this point. Who do you have as like the top dogs of the free agent class? Where do you want to start?
So I want to start at the top, who I think the best free agent pitcher available is. And I think that is Dylan Cease. And you can make an argument for Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez. Michael King is, been in and out of injuries, but in terms of a pure stuff profile, you might say him. And of course, you already mentioned Tatsuya Imai as a potential, but we're going to talk about him later. I think he's more of a very good number 3 starter. Of course, it is just a guess, but we're also comparing him to other pitchers in the MPB, and it seems more maybe Yusei Kikuchi, Shota Imanaga, maybe even a Kodai Senga, like kind of that brand of pitcher coming over, not quite Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So I want to start at the top with Dylan Cease. It also helps that in 2026, he's going to be 30 years old. So among the top guys, one of the youngest, and I think he has the best stuff of any free agent pitcher. Now, I know he's coming off a 4.55 ERA, but the underlying metrics are really, really solid. 3.56 FIP. He also is a strikeout master, striking out close to 12 per 9. And I have an interesting spot of where I think Dylan Cease is going to go. But before we even talk predictions, do you agree that Dylan Cease would be at the top of your free agent pitcher big board?
I'm going to tease something, and I'm going to make people stick around for 10 to 15 minutes whenever we may get to this guy. No, I disagree, but that is entirely dependent on how this week at the GM meetings goes. And I'll explain that when we get to this guy.
I'm almost teed up. I have no idea what you're talking about. So
yeah, so keep going with Cease.
I will. So why don't we just get to the prediction? Right? Because I think evaluating Dylan Cease, he's been up and down. A few years ago with the White Sox, he put together just an unbelievable season, posting an ERA below 2.5. He was at a 2.2, but he's been back and forth. But throughout it all, the underlying has always been good. It's just been a matter of, is he keeping the ball in the yard or not? Is he commanding the baseball? Right? It's almost sometimes Blake Snell has been a better pitcher throughout the years, but it is kind of like that where if he's commanding the ball within the zone, he can pitch like a number one starter. And I think when looking at the rest of the guys, you could say Framber Valdez, and I wouldn't push back too much on it. I don't think you can say it about Ranger Suarez. And looking at the rest of them, I just think he has the most upside. And with combined with the age, this is the guy who I would give the biggest deal to.
The biggest prerequisite that you just presented over the course of that 90 seconds to 2 minutes, you gave me the pitch on Cease, and I agree with the overwhelming majority of it. But you offer the disclaimer several times. If he's in the strike zone, he is famously not in the strike zone. And that is what holds him back from being a frontline starting pitcher, top 10 pitcher in the game. This guy was an American League Cy Young runner-up just a couple of years ago. What does he do? Number one, he strikes dudes out. He's near the top of Major League Baseball in punch-outs over the last half decade. Really, since he debuted his first full season, he is near the top of the strikeout leaderboards in Major League Baseball. He's also near the top of the strikeout leaderboards, not just for strikeouts per nine, like not just because of K rate, but because of accumulation. He's near the top because he doesn't miss starts. He hasn't missed a start in years. I asked him about it when he was in Miami, and he said, number one, it's luck. And he knocked on wood. He knocked on his wood locker when I asked him the question. He said, number one, I've been blessed, good health. And number two, he really focuses on his body. He wears the number 84 because there are 84 asanas in yoga. He is a yogi. He's a guy that prioritizes flexibility and prioritizes mindfulness. Like everything about his approach to life, which is quirky, screams durability. He has nasty stuff, but he's not an explosion-based pitcher. So that's the biggest pro for him. But the biggest con is sometimes he doesn't know where the pitches are going. And that is the big problem. And that is what docks him to number two for me.
Okay, so I'm hesitant now to talk about my prediction. I really want to know who's number one for you. But maybe, why don't we just talk Dylan Cease for now?
Let's talk Cease for now.
Let's talk Cease for now.
I told you, it was a T. I said we'll get to it in 10 minutes or so. We might get to it in 5.
This is my first podcast in like 6 days. I'm just getting giddy over here. Sorry.
Relax.
Okay. So Ryan Finkelstein wrote a great article, the top 20 free agents and his free agent predictions.
Real quick interjection. Our editorial team has been knocking the free agency thing out of the park. If you need anything on the free agent front, justbaseball.com. If you're not reading our editorial team at this point, you're doing yourself a disservice. Keep going.
Couldn't agree with you more. So Ryan's prediction was 7 years, $210 million, $30 million a year to the San Francisco Giants. Number one, I disagree with the team. And number two, I disagree with how much money it is. So while I believe that Dylan Cease will get paid the most of any free agent starter, I think that's too big of a deal. And I saw that he was kind of comparing it to Max Fried's 8-year deal. But Dylan Cease has not been nearly as consistent as Max Fried. And Max Fried is another guy who's been moderately, I would say, pretty much healthy when comparing to other starters across the league. Max Fried, coming into this season, was at a 3.03 career ERA. Dylan Cease is above 3.50. So I don't think it's fair to compare Max Fried to Dylan Cease. And I also don't think it's fair to compare Corbin Burns to Dylan Cease. And that's where kind of Fink was putting him up there. I think Cease is a little bit better than Carlos Rodon when he signed that deal with the Yankees at about $27 million per. So for me, I had him pegged around 6 years, $162 million, which is $27 million per. Before we get to the teams, thoughts on that contract just as it hits you?
It makes a lot of sense. You're paying for durability. So I think a lot of people would look at the ERA number over the last couple of years and look at just overall production. Maybe you're looking at WAR and saying, is Cease worth that? My counter would be yes, because, and I have the numbers in front of me now, since the start of the 2021 season, Dylan Cease has started 4 more games than anybody else in Major League Baseball. In terms of innings pitched, this guy's at 884. That's 7th in Major League Baseball. And the names in front of him, Logan Webb, Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios, Zach Wheeler, Framber Valdez, Luis Castillo. And he also is number 1 in punchouts by nearly 100. He is nearly 70 ahead of Zach Wheeler at 1,106 since the start of the 2021 season. So what you're paying for there at 27 a year is durability, knowing that you're getting 32 starts from him and you're getting 200 or more strikeouts.
And you have the potential for him to have one of those seasons where he's pitching in the mid to low 3s, because he has done that over the past seasons. It's just littered with 4.5 ERA type seasons. And you kind of go, one after another. Is he allowing those home runs? Is he commanding the ball within the zone? Because you said that he does struggle with it. Absolutely. We saw that in full force last year, but even the year before, he was much better, right? So I think what you're looking for is a lot of what he's given you so far. He's going to give you great seasons and he's going to give you good seasons, but even those good seasons, he's going to get the ball every 5th day. And that's really valuable to me. I just don't see 7 for 210. I don't think he's in the Corbin Burns bucket. I don't think he's in the Max Fried bucket. I think he's slightly more elevated than a Carlos Rodon. So that's kind of where I found the happy medium when it comes to the contract.
So I can appreciate that. My only, if he makes $210 million, why is he making $210 million? And my reasoning would be, this is, and we talked about this a little bit on the hitter episode. This is the last opportunity for teams to show their strength and flex their financial muscles without any considerable bumpers on the bowling lane. There are no guardrails in place. Is this our last free agency before a cap is implemented? I have no idea. We'll see. But at risk of, yes, it being the last free agency cycle that we go through without a salary cap, this is an opportunity for teams to bid to the point where, hey, we might not be able to do this moving forward. Let's push to 210 and let's price out 25 teams from this Dylan Cease sweepstakes. So that's the only reason why I think he could get 210, but I bet you he's under $200 million.
Yeah, maybe not 162. He might get that 7th year. He'll probably be within that range. I just don't see him going over 200 million. So the reason I disagree with Fink on the Giants, and it's actually small because I do think the Giants are a pretty good landing spot. They clearly have the money to do so, and they are in need of a big-time starting pitcher to put right behind Logan Webb. If you're the Giants and you're going for it, do you want a guy who struggled against the Dodgers? Dylan Cease has perpetually gotten destroyed by the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, I have another pitcher here who has very strong numbers against the Dodgers in his career that I want to send to the San Francisco Giants. And then I want to use some of that other money in order to get some big time relievers because they also need guys in the pen. So I don't see the Giants entering the Dylan Cease sweepstakes and saying, we're going to spend the most money on a starting pitcher on Cease, and it's the guy who gets hit by our division rival. I just don't see that happening. But I have a team, and it's kind of fun.
What's your team? Because I have one in mind as well.
The Detroit Tigers.
Okay.
So here's where I'm coming from here. I think the Tigers are not going to trade Tarik Skubal. You have him for his age 28 season. This could be the best season we've seen from Tarik Skubal, right? He's right in the middle of his prime. He's coming off back-to-back Cy Young, 6 win seasons, pitching to a low ERA. And you say, all right, Skubal, you want to test free agency next year with an impending lockout? You do that. But this year could be your best. And we are damn good enough to go for it this year and really compete in the American League. They were a Jorge Polanco base hit away from getting past the Mariners, and then who knows what you would have done against the Blue Jays. We'd probably all have still picked the Blue Jays, but the Tigers are one of the best teams. So you bring in Dylan Cease, and you tell your fans, just if we aren't able to sign Tarek Skubal to a $450 million deal, sorry, we're still willing to spend money here. And then going into next year, you have Tarek Skubal, Dylan Cease, who is obviously incredibly durable. And you look at the rest of the rotation, right? Jackson Jobe is probably not going to pitch for them in 2026. And if he does, it's going to be towards the tail end of the year. They have Reese Olson, who's great, but he isn't able to stay on the field. And Casey Mize was able to make 28 starts this year. And then you have Jack Flaherty, who it's like he's coming off not that great of a season. And I think the Tigers saw, all right, I think we have a good enough offense where we can add a couple of pieces, and we also have young guys coming up. There's not really a lot of spots for them to spend money. And in the bullpen, they can recreate some guys in the aggregate. That's what Scott Harris does. So where do you spend your money? On a guy like Dylan Cease, who, look at his numbers against the Guardians throughout his career. Over his last 10 starts, pitched to a 2.26 ERA. Look at his numbers against the Royals. Dominated them, pitching to a low 3. So he's had a ton of success against American League Central teams. And that feels like a guy, you pair him behind Tarek Skubal, that 1-2 punch, they can really compete. And again, he's on the younger side of all of these free agents. So let's say Skubal does leave after next year. You still have a frontline guy in your rotation. And the Tigers, I'm looking at 2026 team salary right now, $48 million in total payroll allocation.
I think that's before you get to arbitration estimates 100%. And all that stuff. They have a lot of guys in arbitration.
I was just going to say that. Of course, that's not. But what I am saying is they do have a ton of money to spend, and they really haven't since their owner unfortunately passed away back in 2017. I was listening to Paul Hembakaitis, on the Sunday Night Baseball podcast, or actually I just saw a clip, so I'm not exactly sure what he said. But from 2007 to 2017, only 3 teams outspent the Tigers. It's the same family. They've just been hesitant to spend big dollars. And this gives a sign to the fans, hey, we are still willing to spend money. We want to bring in a guy who we know can dominate the Central competition. And for this year, we're going for it. Yeah. We're going for it. And then if Skubal leaves, we still have Dylan Cease.
Yeah. These are the Illiches who have proven to be good owners in baseball. $119 million is their total payroll projection with arbitration and pre-arb estimates factored in. So 119, there's room for Detroit to escalate. People go to those games. People love Tigers baseball. They make the money to justify a payroll increase. Do they do it in the form of Alex Bregman? Do they do it in the form of Dylan Cease? I have no idea. The teams that came to my mind for Dylan Cease, Houston has been circulating. Houston makes some sense. Brown and Cease at the top is strikeout city, and I'm all about that, especially with guys like Luis Garcia coming back, hopefully off the mend and all of that. Houston is intriguing to me. I know Atlanta never really does this thing, but their problem that did them in 2025 was they had no starting pitchers left. I could see Atlanta paying the hometown kid in Dylan Cease and maybe him taking a hometown discount a la Matt Olson, who's also an Atlanta area kid. Dylan Cease is an Atlanta kid. The other one is the team that drafted him. The Chicago Cubs. This is your opportunity to get strikeouts. What do they need? They need strikeouts. They need swing and miss stuff. What do they have? They have a lot of ground balls, and then they have some weak pop-outs. They don't really have, here's 10 Ks tonight. And Dylan Cease has the opportunity to do that for the Chicago Cubs. So those are the teams that jumped out to me. But I don't think Dylan Cease is the best starting pitcher on the market. I think the next guy is the best starting pitcher on the market.
Framber Valdez.
And here's my reasoning. I think he's number 2 right now. But I think over the course of the next 2 days, he can propel himself to be pitcher 1. Why? He's in Vegas right now. He's at the GM meetings in Las Vegas. Framber Valdez has a ton of explaining to do for the cross-up situation with Cesar Salazar. I don't know how effective he's going to be, but he is a member of the Wallenda family this week. The Wallendas are the famous tightrope walkers. They do that in between, buildings and all that stuff. They did it in Chicago a couple of years ago. I think all the main channels picked it up. But he has to walk a tightrope this week. But if he walks it successfully and he explains himself successfully to GMs, I think what they can do is look at a guy, and how much do you care about this? I don't know. They can look at a guy who has led Major League Baseball in wins over the last half decade and been near the top in quality starts over the last half decade and say, you are reliable. You have plenty of postseason experience. We know exactly what you're getting year in and year out. Framber Valdez has a 3.2 ERA and 96 starts in the last 5 years. And Framber Valdez is top 5 in innings pitched since the beginning of the 2021 season. His resume is pitcher 1 on this market. The Cesar Salazar cross-sub lowered him to pitcher 3, pitcher 4 on this market. But if he explains his way out of this, and I'm fascinated to see how he tries to go about it over the next few days in Vegas. If he explains his way out of the Cesar Salazar thing, he becomes pitcher 1 again. And if he convinces one team, he might be the only $200 million pitcher on the market.
See, that's where I go a different direction, because I agreed with everything you said, but here's the thing about $200 million. He's 32 years old. He's 32. And the numbers haven't been so prolific to the sense where you're looking like a Zach Wheeler type or a DeGrom type, where some of these older pitchers get incredible amounts of dollars when it comes to average annual value. But if you are a team and you saw the cross up and you've also seen not a steady decline, but just a slight decline over the years as the stuff has just not been quite as pinpoint, because Framber Valdez can't dominate you with his stuff. He dominates you with good stuff and location. And that location has also started to dip a little bit, and he's 32 years old. That's the difference between him and Cease, is while Cease has been a little bit more inconsistent, he's flashed that same upside, if not more than Framber Valdez, and he's 2 years younger. And all of the great qualities that you talked about with Framber about durability, didn't we just kind of say that Dylan Cease has been just as, if not more durable? So I think for me, with those two, it comes down to, all right, Cease is 2 years younger. I would rather invest in that guy than the 32-year-old.
I'm going to give you 2 numbers. ERA, Dylan Cease over his last 4 years. 2.2, 4.6, 3.5, 4.6. Okay? 2.2, 4.6, 3.5, 4.6. Framber Valdez over the last 4 years. 2.8, 3.5, 2.9, 3.6. Just objectively better on the ERA front for Framber Valdez. The other one, fly ball pitchers can play in 10 ballparks around Major League Baseball. Like, they're built for Comerica. They're built for San Francisco. Ground ball pitchers can play in 30 ballparks. Like, you're not getting tagged for homers if you're a ground ball guy. It doesn't matter where you pitch. You could pitch in Cincinnati. You could pitch at Detroit. It doesn't matter. Ground ball rate. Framber Valdez, it's great, right? Last 4 years, it's been 67%, 54%, 61%, 59%. Dylan Cease, last 4 years, 39%, 36%, 40%, 37%. If it was in the mid-40s, I would view it as a little bit more washy, but he is so clearly a fly ball pitcher. And Framber has that advantage. And Framber has also been much more consistent in terms of run prevention. So I can appreciate what you're saying about Cease and, him being on the mound as much. But Framber has just been objectively better over the last 5 years.
I think that's fair if we're looking at that sample and we're looking at ERA. I guess what my counter would be, if we're looking at expected ERA, maybe some underlying metrics, Cease's, even though he had a 4.6 ERA, he had a 3.43 expected ERA versus Framber at a 3.77 ERA. And I think a lot of that comes with Framber's inability to limit hard contact. Luckily, a lot of it has been on the ground. But if he just is missing by a tick, that's where it can go bad. And that's where we've seen some of Framber's blow-ups, right? So I think we can move on. I want to talk about predictions because we have a lot of pitchers to talk about.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be interesting to see who delivers the better year next year. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think they are on a very similar plane because we have talked about Framber's issues, like the cross-up, like he has to explain that he is 2 years older. This stuff has ticked down more steadily, while Dylan C stuff is still at the top of his game. He's just been too inconsistent with it. So neither pitcher is perfect. Tie goes to the younger guy. It's kind of where I'm at here. But let's talk predictions.
Yeah, sure. I just want to say, and I'm willing to place a bet here. I think Framber is the objectively better pitcher, and I'm willing to make a bet that Framber has a better year than Dylan Cease in 26.
There we go. We're already off and running. I love the offseason.
There we go.
All right, let's talk predictions for Framber. Do you want to go first? Because I went first last time.
Yeah, I don't really have predictions, to be honest.
Okay.
Like, I just kind of want to react to yours and recalibrate if I think they're out of bounds.
Fair enough. So Ryan's prediction was 5 years, $160 million. That's a $32 million AAV to the Toronto Blue Jays. Too much money. I mean, doesn't that sound like too much money? $32 million?
Yeah, but you're paying for production. You're paying for what I just gave you.
I know, but from 32 to 37, like I'm paying $32 million for this guy. It seems like a little bit too much.
Yeah, but that's also where the market is. Again, how many off seasons, and I know the answer, I think it's 4 at this point. We've sat here for 4 straight off seasons and said, that's an absurd amount of money for this guy. What an overpay. What an overpay. That's Major League Baseball's free agency. And that's why there's a CBA dispute coming up.
No, 100%. I just look at the top pitchers right now, and it's Wheeler, DeGrom, Snell, Cole, and Burns, and they're all making $35 million per. Crochet just signed that big extension for $28 million per. You have Tyler Glasnow with $27 million. You have Max Fried at $27 million. You have Yamamoto at $27 million. You have Rodon at $27 million. I just don't think, I understand that the market continues to rise, but $5 million more. I did 5 for $150, which is still $30 million. So it's not anything crazy. I just think when you're adding $2 extra million more and getting him closer to the pinnacle of pitchers, that's where, but again, I'm kind of splitting hairs at the end of the day.
That's probably fair, but I think Framber and his agent's clapback would be, if Rodon's making 27, I should be making at least 30.
And that's where I put him at 30. So I have him going to the New York Mets. And the reason I have him going to the New York Mets is, what do the Mets need? They need a guy who can just eat up innings and be consistent. And I think the difference between Cease is, I think Cease does have more upside. I will stamp that. But I think Framber's floor is higher. And I think bringing in a guy like that would just be enormous for this Mets starting rotation. When you look at it next year and it's Nolan McLean, and you'd probably say David Peterson, and I would agree with you. I think David Peterson has absolutely earned a good spot in this rotation. But then who? Right? Sean Manaea, Kodai Senga. I've heard the Mets are already considering shopping Kodai Senga. Bring in a lefty like Framber just to cool temperatures a little bit. Keep the ball on the ground for Francisco Lindor at shortstop. He's probably going to put up absurd outs above average numbers when he's getting millions of ground balls to him every single day. That's what I feel like is a really good fit, as I do think the Mets are going to go big game hunting in the starting rotation sphere.
The Mets are the slam dunk fit for Framber Valdez. It's almost like too obvious that Framber Valdez could end up in New York. They don't need a Cease because, to your point, the last thing that they need in 26 is inconsistency.
Yeah.
There's too much unknown with Michael King. The other fit, we'll talk about him in a minute, Ranger Suarez. Ranger Suarez could also be a Met, keep it within the division, but Framber Valdez makes a lot of sense because they can pay for the front line arm. So you have Framber Valdez, you have Peterson, you have McLean. That's a hell of a front three. If Peterson's throwing the way we know he can. Sure. And then you also have Clay Holmes, who was really good last year. I know there was kind of ebbs and flows to his season, but when you look at the end of season numbers, they were really good for a guy that went from being a closer to a starter.
He fizzled at the end, which is understandable in your first year as a starter.
But he had some decent starts at the end. Like there were still blips of success there for Clay Holmes. So I would just say, like, you know what? Box checked. Good year for Clay Holmes. So Clay Holmes is the 4, and then the 5 could be Sproat. It could be Manaea, whoever. Tong needs more time in AAA, I think.
Fair.
But if you're running out on opening day 5 of Framber, Peterson, McLean, Holmes, Sproat, Mets fans are going to be really happy.
So what I will say, I want to bring up this comment. Framber is a Blue Jay, in my opinion. When I was doing these predictions, I don't have any of these starters going to the Blue Jays. And I think it stems around my belief that they're going to get Kyle Tucker. And that's where they're going to spend huge money. And I look at their rotation right now. You're not moving off Gausman. You're not moving off Savage. You're not moving off Bieber, who just re-signed. Jose Barrios, like, you hope he can bounce back.
Yeah.
And that's your 4. Are you going to spend more huge money in the starting rotation? Maybe they do, and maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like, is that where they spend $150 million? I just feel like other teams need these guys more. And I think the Blue Jays are going to be the team to get Tucker, which means they don't end up spending over $100 million on a pitcher. I think they could go get like right? I have some long shots I want to talk about later, like a Zach Eflin,
Sure.
with Tyler Mahle, guys who I think would be good on 1-year deals, and you can kind of buy low on their market and make them the 5 with Eric Lauer. But I think they have a good enough 4 where they don't have to spend $150 million on a pitcher.
They should be in the market for 3s who cost about $60 million, not ones who cost about $150.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I want to mention real quick, would AJ Preller care about Framber's cross-up situation? Preller's a madman. Preller doesn't have $160 million to spend on a frontline starting pitcher. I don't think, we shall see, but he's got Cease and King away. I don't think they pay for Framber Valdez, but we'll see. We're going to get to kind of the rest of the starting pitchers. We talked about the clear-cut front 2 in a moment. Quick break. Who's next on your agenda?
Ranger Suarez. So he's also going to be a little bit younger. His age in 2026 is 30 years old. He's coming off a really solid season, 157 innings at a 3.20 ERA, 3.21 FIP. Now, he's not a big strikeout guy, but he limits hard contact. And I think he's one of those pitchers that just has that X-dog in him. I think he's a cold-blooded assassin when the time is right. We saw him in relief, 5 innings against the Dodgers in the only game that they won in that series when he piggybacked Aaron Nola. And you might, by saying against the Dodgers, you might know where I'm going with this. But let's talk about Ryan's prediction. 5 years, $110 million at about $22 million per to the Detroit Tigers. So he also is aligned that the Tigers are going to be active in the starting pitching market. And I could totally see Ranger Suarez there. I have really no problem with that. But considering I already put Cease on the Tigers, I have Ranger going somewhere else. What's your read on Ranger Suarez right now? Do you think 5 years, $110 million is fair? Because I do. I think that's pretty spot on.
I love him, and I think I'd give him more.
Really? I mean, I don't hate that. I
love him. What has he done to debunk the idea that he's a frontline starting pitcher? Nothing. He had a 4.2 ERA in 2023. But his last 2 years, it was 27 starts at a 3.5, and then it was 26 starts at a 3.2 ERA. This guy was sitting under 2 at the All-Star break. Going back to 2021, he was like a swing man, and it was 106 innings at a 1.36 ERA. And then in 2022, it was 155 at a 3.6 ERA. This guy's been good. It's not to the level of Christopher Sanchez, where he's a Cy Young finalist, but
I love him.
I mean, in the town of Wheeler and Nola, the reason that they're afloat at points is because of Suarez and Sanchez. So let's appreciate Ranger Suarez, and this is Ranger Suarez's opportunity to be appreciated for once. And that's not a knock on Phillies fans. I know Phillies fans love Ranger, but he deserves to be Batman somewhere. And I just want to see him be Batman somewhere. I don't think it's going to be a bad team that gives him $110 million, but I think there's a good team that looks at Ranger as a 2 instead of a 3 or a 4.
I think he is a 2, and I think he's going to get 2 money. Here's why I'm hesitant to give him $150 million. Still give him 110. And you could say 120, sure. I'd be fine doing it. He's never thrown more than 160 innings. What did we just say about Framber and Dylan Cease and why we like them so much and why they should and deserve to get paid? 160 innings is easy for them. Both of them have been over that number over the last 4 seasons. Rangers never done that. So I think the question that has to be asked about Ranger Suarez is, can he be one of these bulldog arms that you can hand the baseball to for 32 starts? Hasn't proven that he could do that. Now you could make the argument, well, his arm's a little bit fresher, right? But I'm not so sure about that, right? He's dealt with some injuries, kind of every season. He always misses like 4 to 5 starts. When he's going, he can really eat innings, but then sometimes he gets bounced a little bit. The lack of innings keeps me off of Framber money or Cease money, but I think he's the clear-cut number 3 here because of everything that you said. He's been wildly consistent, and I do believe this guy's got cold blood running through his veins.
The more I think about it, he might be ahead of Cease for me.
Really?
He might be ahead of Cease for me because consistency matters. And
you hate Cease.
But I love Cease. As somebody that grew up a White Sox fan, like I love Cease, but
you hate walks, and it's okay. I love that you, no matter what, stand by your beliefs of pitchers. Like, I think Blake Snell dominating like that, you're like, I can't wait for him to crumble next year because I think you'll never say that on the pod, but it's in the back of your mind. You're like,
I've said it. We've had a mailbag question. Who are players that you don't like watching? I don't like watching Blake Snell pitch because you know what it is? It's he can't keep getting away with this. It's that meme. Walks will kill you at some point, and they haven't killed Snell as much as they've killed Cease, but they've killed Cease at points in his career. Dylan Cease has a 4.6 ERA on his ledger in 2025. This year, and his walk rate of 4.6. Why? Because he walked a lot of guys, and then those walks would come in. Walks come in all the time. All you got to do is sit there and watch a ball game, and if you pull the old head thing, toss a toothpick in and say, that walk's going to come back to haunt him, chances are you're right. And that's my thing about Cease, man. That's my thing about walks in general. It's just so volatile. And Ranger Suarez, I understand that he has some blow-up starts. His game in a macro, because you're paying for the year, you're paying for 162, you're paying for 30 starts, 28, however many you get from Ranger Suarez. When you look at the entire body of work, I just think it's more productive than a Dylan Cease.
I actually think this conversation between us is wildly fascinating because my idea of who I want to sign, like, I am a gambler. I am. I like betting on upside. I think Dylan Cease's upside can win a Cy Young.
And I love safety. I don't gamble. I love the idea of knowing what you're getting.
And you love the 5.8% walk rate. Like, you love he's going to be in the zone. He's going to deliver good numbers. But with Cease, I'd be willing to spend those couple extra dollars because I can imagine him in a World Series game going 7 innings of 2-hit ball with 10 Ks, like rolling off a Blake Snell type run because he does have that stuff in his bag, while Ranger Suarez is going to throw 5 innings of 1-run ball in the playoffs and put you in a position to win. And over the season, he's going to keep that heart rate down. Even his own heart rate never beats above 60 beats per minute, no matter the spot. So I totally get where you're coming from. It is just a difference of philosophy where I am willing to bet on that stuff. But you are like, I will gladly pay you good money just so I can rest easy on the pillow, where I'm like, I don't care about sleep. I'm trying to win the whole damn thing.
Yeah. Reliability is so important to me.
I understand
and
that.
You love the idea of the boom. You don't love the idea of boom or bust because that insinuates bust. You love the idea of what could be. I love, here's my track record. Here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you exactly that. I love knowing what I'm paying for. And with Ranger and Framber, I know what I'm paying for a heck of a lot more than I know Dylan Cease. And the next guy that we're going to talk about too, and that's health dependent.
You know who will like what they pay for? The San Francisco Giants. That's where I think Ranger Suarez ends up going. Because I like the mix between Logan Webb and Framber. I just feel like it's a different look at your 1-2. And I also love a very solid track record against the LA Dodgers. It was clear in the playoffs, this team struggles against these crafty lefties. And then you get a guy like Christopher Sanchez, who, calling him crafty is almost doing him a disservice because he's so damn dominant, but he's not like a Skubal or a Crochet where it's explosive stuff. It's still great stuff. and he puts together seasons that can be just as good as them. But a guy like Chris Sanchez and a guy like Ranger Suarez give the Dodgers trouble. So that's a guy who I would want to bring in. And I don't think he's going to be as expensive as a Framber or a Cease. Again, 5 years, $110 million to the San Francisco Giants. And then you could spend a little bit more of that money in the bullpen for one of these high-end relievers.
So Ranger Suarez, to me, is either the Tiger fit. I think he could make sense in Detroit. But how about Ranger Suarez, the Boston Red Sox?
So I have another prediction to the Red Sox later. I just don't think the Red Sox are giving out $100 million deals to pitchers.
They want to pay for ones. It was reported on Tuesday that they want to pay for frontline starting pitching. They want to pay for guys that'll start playoff games.
But I think that they would rather go get a guy like Joe Ryan, trade for him, and then extend him rather than give 5 years, $115 million, because they want to pay for ones. Ranger ain't a one. Sorry. I don't
Ranger's
think he's a one.
2. Ranger's a high level 2.
High level 2.
Again, it's time for Ranger Suarez to be considered a 2. He's not a 2 in your mind because he's been tucked underneath Wheeler Nola Sanchez. He's a 2.
Okay. If the Red Sox view him as a 2, then they might pay him. I don't think the Red Sox are going to pay these guys. They might say they will. There's teams that we're going to go over. I don't believe them. They have given us nothing to believe.
Sure.
Them, right?
What I mean, the Baltimore Orioles, right? Like, there are plenty of teams that fit that criteria where it's like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this.
Right? You're priced out of Bregman now. Like, you traded away Devers, and now that's the team that's going to give 5 years, $110 million to a guy who you might think definitely is a 2, but could be a 3. And that's the guy you're going to spend money on? No way. I just think no way for the Red Sox. And we're going to talk about another team later that I think no way. And I've seen a lot of different articles. This team is getting a lot of the pitchers that we've talked about. There's no shot they do. And I think fans of our Discord would understand the team that I'm already talking about. There's also multiple teams that I'm talking about, but there's one in particular. But the Red Sox are definitely one of them. I don't think they're going to get any of these top-end guys, but I do have them getting one later.
Got you. Okay. Who's the next guy?
So next up on this list is Michael King. And now Michael King is as talented of a pitcher as we have on this list. If he was coming off 170 innings, he might be number 1. But he is coming off
slam dunk number 1 if he's healthy.
I think he's right up there. 15 starts, 73 innings, a 3.44 ERA. FIP didn't love him. 4.42 FIP, 1.20 WHIP, 9.33 K per 9. Fink's prediction, 3 years, $66 million deal with an opt-out after 2026 to the Boston Red Sox. And I'll just get this right out of the way. That's the guy who I think they would pay for. A guy who can be a 1, but is maybe coming off a year which lowered his value, was a little bit more inconsistent than we thought he would be. But if Michael King is fully healthy and they give him a larger AAV, but they don't lock into a long-term deal, you pair King right behind Garrett Crochet. Of course, you still have Brian Bayo. You have Connolly Early. You have a couple other guys, right? They're bringing back Patrick Sandoval. They have arms, but to solidify a 1-2 with Crochet and with Michael King, 2 completely different looks as well. I love that fit. That makes more sense for what the Red Sox want to do, in my opinion.
Makes a ton of sense. I think that is the more realistic outcome for Boston. I was texting with Ben Bellotti earlier today, our video YouTube czar and the man. And Ben, I asked him, would you feel better about King or Gallen? And he brought up the Northeast thing. Michael King from the Northeast went to Bishop Hedrick in Providence. Like,
wasn't Gallen a Northeast guy? He played baseball in
Gallen's, I think, a Jersey guy.
Yeah, New Jersey. That's Northeast.
Yeah, but like that's probably Yankee land, I would think. That's more New York.
Gallen dominates the Yankees. So if I was the Red Sox, like I would love to bring in Gallen. But I think Michael King is a better fit.
Yeah, King makes a lot of sense, and King is that New England, Boston kind of guy. At least that's, where he's from. Michael King makes a lot of sense in Boston. I also feel like, and again, they are the presidents of the pump fake club. Baltimore, based on the short deal, high AAV, could be a good fit for a Michael King as well. So those are the 2 teams that jump out to me for Michael King. It's entirely health dependent with him. I'm willing, if I were a decision maker for an organization, I'd be willing to roll the dice on a guy like King, because when he's on the mound, it's so weird and it's so good at the same time. And he's just going to put opposing hitters in a blender. He's going to be good. Question is how available.
So I want to move to our next guy because I think it's intertwined with the Red Sox and the Orioles conversation that you just brought up. Next on our list is Zac Gallen. And right, he's coming off a year where 4.83 ERA, 4.51 FIP. We all saw it in a walk year, really tough year. But Gallen, of course, has been great in the past. And you're just trying to balance what kind of Zac Gallen are we going to get? And really, when looking at the numbers over the full season, there's not those underlying metrics that Dylan Cease had, where it's still an incredible strikeout rate. And as long as you can keep him in the zone, he's going to dominate. With Gallen, he ended the season stronger, which I think helped his market, but still looking at the totality, especially last year too, when he wasn't great either after that 2023 postseason run, I think a 2-year deal is probably more likely. Like Fink had 2 years, $54 million deal to the Cubs. But I actually think Gallen is a better fit for the Orioles. And the reason I like Gallen to the Orioles over King is because I think King is just going to be a little bit more expensive. And the Orioles cannot bring in more guys that have potential injury concerns. They can't. Like, look at their entire rotation. Trevor Rogers, dog. What has he dealt with? Injury concerns. Kyle Bradish, dog. What has he dealt with? Injury concerns. Grayson Rodriguez, already hurt, right? So I would want to bring in a guy in Zac Gallen who signed a 2-year deal with an opt-out that can come in and help us this year. And if he returns back to the Zac Gallen, maybe you extend him, he'll take that second year, whatever. That's how you can kind of maneuver. But I'm still looking at that 192 inning mark. I still feel really good about Zac Gallen taking the ball every 5th day and being better than he was last year. Who knows how much better, but maybe the Orioles could unlock something more. I would want someone durable like that over a King, who I also then would say is going to be more expensive than Gallen.
Fair. I like this from Uncle Ted. He lost Brent Strom, and it showed. Brent Strom was the pitching coach in Arizona. He was the assistant pitching coach in Pittsburgh this past year. Strom, I don't believe, is going back to Pittsburgh. But Brent Strom, one of the more respected pitching minds in the game. He is an older school pitching mind. I wonder if Gallen is kind of that old school, like, let me just, massage my way with a whole arsenal, that kind of deal. I've really only been accused of glazing one guy in the history of this show, and that's Skeens. Everybody is like, Skeens glazer, you ultimate Skeens glazer. But I'm thinking the 3 guys that I've like hitched my wagon to over the last 4 years of this show are Skeens, Walker Buehler when he was peak of his powers in 21, right? 22. I was like, this guy might be the best pitcher in baseball. And Gallen. Gallen kind of fits that as well, because Gallen at the top of his game is killing you with 4 different pitches, and they're all moving different ways. McClanahan. I've glazed Shane McClanahan a lot as well. That's the other guy. But Gallen, like, when he's at his best, is pitching as an art form, and he's a frontline guy. This is the ultimate pay him like a 3, but get a 1's production. This is going to be the bargain of the offseason for me.
Isn't this Elias move?
Of course.
Like, you're getting
I feel like that could be a slam dunk.
I agree. And it also helps that he obliterates the Yankees. So I ranked Shota 6. He's not my 6th pitcher. I don't even know why I put him at 6. Do you want to talk about him next?
We can talk about Shota next. I want to talk about another guy too, but I do want to highlight this for my guy, Alex Laverne, who was doing a lot of work on the TV side with me in Indianapolis. He's on the Indianapolis Indians telecast team. He goes, guilty as charged, but for good reason on the Skeens glazing. It's like, yeah, you know what? Everybody, when they saw it, they realized that guy is just generational. I want to talk
for you. Good for you for figuring out Paul Skeens is good.
Yeah, you know what? I'll raise my hand after he broke the SEC strikeout record.
I keep glazing this kid in LA. His name's Ohtani. Have you heard of him? I just keep talking about him. I really hitch my wagon to him.
You know he's fast?
Yeah,
you know what? You're kind of being an ass right now. So for that, you get a whoosh. We'll talk Imanaga in a minute, but a guy that wasn't on your doc that you shared was Tatsuya Imai.
Yeah, I put him on later. I agree. I shared with you a doc, and I was like, I got to put Imai on there. Yeah. What am I talking about?
let's talk Imai here. Gallen, like I'm totally with you in terms of, Baltimore being the fit. The other team that feels like a fit is the Cubs for Gallen.
Yeah.
Like Gallen could be a fun fit,
I have a different
but
one.
I feel like the Cubs do that if they strike out on Imai. I feel like Imai and the Cubs is a really good match.
Yeah,
No.
maybe they ain't spending that money.
You
They
ain't
just aren't.
spending
I
that
am
money.
not giving any of these teams these $100+ million guys. I refuse to until they prove it, and I will happily be wrong. I am not giving teams like the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Orioles these $100 million contracts when they have proven they are not going to do it. Yes, they did it with Dansby. Like, I think Uncle Ted, Joe Ryan, a Cub. I could see them trading for Joe Ryan and then
How about
extending
Mackenzie
them
Gore?
that
Like
money.
Mackenzie Gore's a Cub too. Yeah.
They're not spending $100+ million on these free agents, especially on a guy who's probably going to command like $140 million in Tatsuya Imai. There's no way. I get it. It makes sense. They need a starter, and we both like him. No, I refuse. I refuse to give him to the Cubs. I refuse to give him to the Red Sox. I refuse to give him to the Orioles.
So is he a Yankee?
I put him as a Yankee. It feels like a Yankee move. It does to me.
He's mid to high 90s with a slider, a split. He has a sinker off the four-seamer as well. He's coming off a year where he threw 163 innings at a 1.9 in the NPB.
And I see why people compare him to Yamamoto, even though I do not think he is Yamamoto. He is not 25 years old. Yamamoto had better stuff. But I get the comparison because they're both shorter in stature, and they both pitch like elite athletes. Like the way they contort their body, the low arm slot. Like, I like Imai, and when you look at his numbers, it's like, oh, that was kind of similar to like Yusei Kikuchi when he came over at 28 years old to the Seattle Mariners, and he's turned in a very solid career with some seasons where the upside, like we've seen him rattle off second halves. We're like, holy shit, Yusei Kikuchi's a top 10 pitcher in baseball. We've seen stretches where Kodai Senga is unhittable. That's where I think he's going to kind of be. I think he might be a little bit better than them because, and of course, things could change, but he's been pretty damn durable over in the NPB, like consistently throwing 160 innings, right? It's a different schedule over there where they're pitching more once a week versus once every fifth day, but he's taken the ball every single time. And again, that athleticism, I think, is going to bode well for him. So he's not Yamamoto, but I do think he is going to be a better pitcher, at least more consistent than the Yusei Kikuchis of the world, the Kodai Sengas of the world, and the Shota Imanagas of the world. So I think he's in that middle ground where if you're in the playoffs and you're a very good rotation, he's a very good 3. And on another team that maybe doesn't miss the playoffs, he's either their very strong 2 or their ace. Does that make sense? That's where I kind of peg him at. And when I'm looking at the Yankees, Garrett Cole, Clark Schmidt, and Carlos Rodon are all going to start the season on the IL. You need to bring in a pitcher who can immediately go eat innings. And I think he can do that. And I think the Yankees will be intrigued by the fact that he is younger than a lot of these guys. And I think they also have the money to take the gamble. Because if you are spending $140 million, not a lot of teams can do that. And whenever you search Imai's name on Google, Yankees. I mean, it's clear they really like him. But again, I'm not sold on it. I could hear a bunch of different teams. I think it's a wildly fascinating thing. I wrote down more Yankees as a placeholder. Like, this is this is kind of the prediction that I think would happen the least amount of times.
So I'll tell you, I think Imai is a perfect Yankee because he's had 2 quotes over the last couple of days that I've seen that make me believe that he's built for New York and he's built for that fan base. And I want to read you 2 of these quotes. Yaku Cosmopolitan, who does an amazing job covering the NPB and just Japanese baseball as well. And it's an English account. It's on X. It's at Yaku, Yakyu Cosmo, Cosmo. They are phenomenal. And he was asked about pitching in the NPB, which is a dead ball type league. Like, the ball just doesn't fly to the level that it does in Major League Baseball. Imai translated said, quote, I didn't always dream of going to Major League Baseball, but over the last 2 or 3 years, I felt like there weren't many hitters who were even trying to hit a homer off me anymore. A lot of lineups would just foul pitches off and run up my pitch count. I get that's a valid part of strategy, but if I were a fan, I don't think that kind of baseball is very fun to watch. Personally, I love power versus power matchups. So he wants to face guys that can hit a ball 450 feet, which is badass. The other one, he was asked about Yoshinobu Yamamoto's heroics, World Series MVP. Imai said, quote, "There is no time to be impressed. We are both aiming to become the best pitcher in the world. I want to do my best too." This guy clearly has some shit to him, and I'm fired up about that. And I feel like him and Schlittler in the same rotation is the piss and vinegar that the Yankees need in that rotation.
And you got to love a potential rotation of Garrett Cole, Max Fried, and then maybe Rodon is your 3, maybe Imai is your 3, maybe Schlittler is your 3, but that's a really strong 5. And then, of course, you still have Clark Schmidt, who will return, Luis Heel.
Heel
these guys
fulfills his reliever prophecy like we've always envisioned. It's great.
Maybe he just becomes a 17 K per 9, 11 walk per 9, just freaking weapon out of there. And then you're like, his peripherals are horrible, but he's so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Luis Heel. He's one of the hardest pitchers to really pin down because he could go back in the starting rotation, only strike out like 7 per 9. I don't know, but he can now be your 7. So if any of these guys get hurt, you can bring in, of course, Luis Heel. But I think Imai feels like the guy for the Yankees, actually, the more we talk about it. I'm becoming more bullish on that take.
Cool. Imanaga, I really don't have much for you. I don't feel awesome about Shota. I think Shota could be a fun 2 for 38.
Oh, I thought you said 2 in the rotation. I agree, 2 for 38.
No. 2 for 38. Like somebody could pay him $18 million a year or $16 million a year. And I feel like that could be, I bet it's 18. So it's 2 for 36. 2 years, $36 million. And that could be like a Baltimore or Detroit fit or something like that. And he's just a mid-rotation arm. And it's like, oh, this team's really good. They added Shota Imanaga.
I said 2 for 40. And I think, but the thing is, they're going to offer him the qualifying offer. But I think maybe he'd rather take, I think he should just potentially leave Chicago. Like, I think maybe pitching in Wrigley Field on some of those days where the wind is blowing out, even more often than not, the wind is actually blowing in, which helps him. But just kind of get he might even get a 3-year deal the more that I think about it, because there is a team that I think is going to feel like they're buying low on Shota, and that's the Angels. Fink had him going to the Astros, and that does not feel like a good fit. I don't want to put him in.
I actually like that fit.
I don't want to put him in that ballpark with this home run problem, because he's going to face so many righties from the left side. They can just park balls over that short fence. Like, I don't like that fit at all. I think the Astros are going to be active, but Imanaga in that park, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Too many home runs. And I think that's the problem why we're low on him. Why would you want to send him to that ballpark where Isaac Paredes joins and we're like, well, he's going to hit 40. Christian Walker comes, well, he's going to hit 35. You want to bring the guy who gave up 1 trillion home runs in the second half of the season to that park? No shot. I'm sending him to the Angels.
I understand. Do you have the air pull percentage on Shota Imanaga?
I don't.
I'd be curious to know the air pull. Yeah, here we go. The air pull, the air fly ball percentage here, or air pull, is 23%, which is not great.
No. And I also think that they can hit it the opposite way. Like, it's just a good park to hit home runs in. That's not where I'm sending Shota.
Okay. Yeah, I can appreciate this. So, like Detroit, mid-level type guy in Detroit, that makes sense.
I think the Angels.
Yeah,
I think the Angels are going to be active, and I feel like he's a guy.
But I hate that they're active. I always hate that they're active.
They're active, and they need starters. And I think you pair him with Kikuchi. I think it'd be an interesting duo. And who knows, maybe he can find something there. Or I'm not counting him out. Just a year before, he was great. So maybe he can recapture that. Nice sun in Los Angeles. I mean, I don't really have this is why he's a perfect Angel. Nobody's a perfect Angel, with all due respect. But I do feel like the market is going to sour on him, and the Angels are going to come out and say, we'll give you the 3-year deal. And
Sure.
we feel like we're bringing in a really popular pitcher.
Sure.
And maybe that's just how low I think of their front office sometimes in their decision making. And I think it's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. Let's move on to another
couple of guys I think that are in that price range, and we can kind of go, rapid fire through these guys. Brandon Woodruff is also in that price range. I think he's a 2 for $40 kind of guy.
There's your Cub.
No.
There's your Cub.
I think he has too much respect for the Brewers.
No, they paid Craig Counsell $1 trillion. They said, we'll pay the entire GDP of the world in order to get away from the Brewers.
Craig has less shame than Woodruff does.
Oh, but Woodruff, if they offer him a 2-year, $54 million deal.
Oh, of course he's doing that.
But the thing is, the Cubs can do something like that. And Woodruff, I know, has dealt with injuries. I know it. But here's the thing. When he came back last year, he was awesome. I mean, you saw it firsthand in Miami. Like, this guy's stuff was back. 12 games through 64 innings to a 3.20 ERA. I almost think like this is kind of the Michael King conversation, except Woodruff has dealt with plenty more injuries, but you're buying low on a potential ace here, and you're taking him away from a division rival. This feels like that's the Cubs move, where it's petty, it's not very expensive, and it's a big upside play.
Sure.
And you could convince your fans, hey, remember how Woodruff has been so good in this division for a long time? He's a Cub now. I love that fit.
Okay. I like that fit. I like San Francisco more because it's almost a soft landing for Woodruff where say he doesn't have his A stuff and he gets hit hard. It's one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in Major League Baseball. He gets to share a rotation with Logan Webb. I like it from San Francisco's perspective because they've historically been the type of team to give somebody a lot of money over 1 or 2 years. I like the Woodruff fit in San Francisco.
I also like, can I say one more quick fit? This is one I could see the Blue Jays getting involved here because this guy, they could still sign Tucker and get him on a shorter term deal. And because they kind of already have that solidified 4, this is your upside play on Woodruff. So if he ends up getting hurt again, you'll be okay. And if he ends up pitching like the Woodruff we know, holy shit, the Blue Jays are so good. So I just felt like I love the pettiness of the Cubs there. They need a starter anyway, and that high upside play with not a ton of money. So I agree with you. I think the Giants are also a good fit.
This from Ted. Giolito in San Diego could be huge. Lucas Giolito could absolutely be a Padre.
I'm not a big Giolito guy.
Who is? Who's a big Giolito guy? People are Giolito guys, but are they big Giolito guys?
Uncle Ted at our chat is a huge Giolito guy. Every single one of
he said the fit in San Diego could be huge. That doesn't mean he's a huge Giolito guy.
Here's more Giolito. Giolito to SF. Look at Uncle Ted. Lucas Giolito is probably the best.
Oh, so he is a huge Giolito guy.
I've been looking at this comment section. It's just Giolito propaganda.
Wow. And then everybody hated Pivetta.
No, I mean,
Giolito the next Pivetta.
I mean, he's put together good seasons before, and he was coming off an injury. It's just that strikeout rate plummeted. But you could give him a break. He still threw 145 innings. He's proven to be. What has he proven to be? I was going to say durable. Like, no. He's a back-end starter who can flash good spurts. A 1-year deal for San Diego to bring him in, resurrect his career a little bit, because that's also a pretty nice place to pitch. That I could see. But if I was a team, I'd rather put my eggs in the Merrill Kelly bucket. I know he's 37 years old. He's coming off another 32 starts, 184 innings, a 3.52 ERA. This guy's arm's made of rubber. Pretty good underlying, 3.76 FIP. And I think this is a good spot for the Phillies. We haven't really talked about them, and we almost think, oh, of course the Phillies don't need starters. They have Chris Sanchez. They have Wheeler coming back. They have Aaron Nola. They have Jesus Zardo. But you never know with Wheeler and the blood clot thing. Like, I hope he's fine. I'm not saying that anything is going to go wrong, but that is a concern. And Luzardo has been inconsistent. Nola's been inconsistent. I'd like to bring in a guy that cools the temperature.
And you have no idea what you're getting from Andrew Painter either. Painter may need
Exactly.
more time in AAA as well. You need one pitcher for
And
Philadelphia. I like Merrill Kelly.
they already sent McAble away in order to get Yohan Duran. So that's why it's 2 years, $40 million. Buy into the fact that you're already old.
Yeah.
Right? You only have a few more years with this core, maybe even just one more year with this core. Like Merrill Kelly next year, I think could outperform a lot of the names that we put on this list. The thing is, he's 37 years old, so he's not going to last very long. So might as well bring him in, and his contract is going to end kind of when everybody else's does anyway.
Yeah.
That's why I like to fit there.
Got you. Do you have another starting pitcher? Because I have one that I think could be like a fun 1-year deal, the best 1-year deal available for like under $10 million.
Talk to me.
Dustin May. The stuff is nasty. I know he got killed at points after the deadline. I know the ERA was not great. The stuff as a whole is nasty. This guy dealt with Tommy John, that he dealt with a forearm, like a flexor issue, and then he dealt with a piece of lettuce lacerating his esophagus. Like, this guy had a couple-year stretch from absolute hell. And he comes back, he's on the mound. It wasn't very good, but the stuff is gross. Dustin May has limbs flying at you. If you told me that I could get Dustin May for 1 year, $7 million, absolutely. I'm in.
Sure. I think his sinker's a barrel finder.
Okay.
I think his stuff is kind of overrated, if I'm being completely honest. I think a few years ago it was outrageous, but when it backs up, he becomes really hittable, and he just has not proven he can stay on the mound consistently. Another pitcher who I want to talk about, someone actually brought him up, is Cody Ponce. Cody Ponce is coming over from the MPB. I don't know a ton about him, but what I do know is the numbers are crazy. Last year in the NPB, 180 innings, a 1.89 ERA with 252 strikeouts. Now, he is coming over at 32 years old. It's not a ton. Like, he pitched in the majors 2 seasons, got bounced. He pitched in the minors, went over to the MPB, and then he wasn't in the MPB last year. He was in the KBO last year. Again, I got to do a little bit more research on this guy. So I apologize for, bringing you through the wrong career, but everything I said up until the KBO, it's like, I just don't know much about him. Do you know a lot about Cody Ponce?
No, I know that he was in Indianapolis for a little bit, and he wasn't very good in Indianapolis. And then I know that he was in Pittsburgh for a little bit, and that was his major league experience, and he wasn't very good in Pittsburgh either. I also know that Cody Ponce, when he was stateside, I don't know if the arsenal has gotten better because we don't get Japanese data, but I do know that his fastball was very dead zoney, and he sat 93. The stuff's not very good. I don't know much about Cody Ponce, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to, pretend that I know.
Yeah, the numbers are prolific. A couple other guys that I want to talk about, like I think Zac Eflin deserves another shot.
Yeah,
was injured last year, but was really, really solid. And I feel like nobody's talking about him. He'd be a guy who I'd be interested in bringing in. And then Tyler Mahle.
Oh,
I know he put up a 2.18 ERA, but the underlying was not very good. But again, he's another guy coming off an injury, and at least when he's on the field is very consistent. So I like this crop of pitchers. It's not super prolific at the top, but you got a lot of guys who you can dream on, like a Gallen and a King and a Ranger and a Framber and a Cease, and then you have Imai. Like, it's a very interesting crop of pitchers, and there's going to be a lot of money spent on these guys.
No doubt. All right, we're going to wrap up quickly with some relievers as well, but I want to give you one more whoosh. Whoosh in the rear view. Best reliever on the market, Edwin Diaz. Mm-hmm. Edwin Diaz is a free agent. Edwin Diaz could absolutely get about $80 million. Is he getting 100 again? I don't think so, but he's going to get a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's coming off a 1.63 ERA, 2.28 FIP. He's disgusting. 13.3 K per 9. Fink's prediction has him going 4-year, $80 million deal, $20 million per back to the Mets.
Yeah.
Why do I think Stearns is not going to pay this huge money for relievers? I just feel like there's still that part of him that is the Brewers GM who feels like he can bring in guys on much shorter salaries and spend the money on the big stars in the rotation or in the lineup. Like, I just don't see them spending here. And maybe I'm wrong. It stems from the belief of I don't think Stearns is a big money giver to relievers.
He's got two devils. The devil on his left shoulder is the Brewer, and the devil on his right shoulder is Steve Cohen.
And maybe he might just lean into the Cohen.
And the left shoulder is saying you don't pay relievers $80 million. You don't give relievers 4-year deals. But the devil on his right shoulder, and that's who he's employed by now. Like, you have to listen to him. And at the end of the day, Edwin Diaz has been amazing. What does Citi Field do without Timmy Trumpet? I have no idea. Like, I don't want to live in a world where Timmy Trumpet goes somewhere else.
I think it could go west to San Francisco. So this is where I had that idea of Ranger, and then you pay the extra money for Edwin Diaz. Because the Giants, they still have Ryan Walker. But you look at the rest of the bullpen, there's a lot to be desired. So if you can go Diaz, then Walker, and then fill in the rest with some smart moves, you could really form a good bullpen here. But I agree with you. Stearns might say, I mean, we have the money. If Cohen wants him back, and he's done nothing to tell us that he doesn't love New York or anything like that, I could see it. But I do like the fit with the Giants because they do have a lot of money and they need these pitchers. And you get the best reliever at the top of the market and you pair him with Ranger Suarez. I like it. I like it a lot for San Francisco.
He's a Met. I really don't think the Mets are going to be outbid for Edwin Diaz's services. So I'll shut it down. I understand where you're going there. What other relievers jump out to you?
Devin Williams. You know, the difference between ERA and FIP is absurd. 4.79 ERA, 2.68 FIP. Ended the year really strong. Fink has the Braves given him a 4-year, $60 million deal, which I was like, first of all, what team did you just say? And what amount of money did you just give Devin Williams? I think Devin Williams after the season is still probably going to get a shorter term deal. I said a 2-year deal with an opt-out. And I think it's actually going to be like 19, 18 million.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be shorter term because do you really want to lock into that for 4 years? I don't. I'd rather pay him more for 1 year and see what happens with the potential opt-out than lock into 4 years. And I know the Braves in the past have spent money on their bullpen. I actually have a different reliever that I want to talk about going to the Braves. This is the one where I think the Diamondbacks jump in. Where I think the Diamondbacks for Devin Williams, because look at their bullpen. They have absolutely nobody. I mean, right now you go on Fangraphs, the roster resources, Andrew Saalfrank. Now I know, you still have AJ Puck, you still have Justin Martinez, but both of those guys are dealing with injuries. I think bringing in a Devin Williams would be really interesting for them. And I think it's also a spot where, it's not the most pressure in the world. You get out of the New York atmosphere. I like the fit with Arizona. What do you think?
I like that fit as well. I really think any team can pay for a reliever.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you're throwing like teams out for fits for these guys, but I feel like the only one that we can play that game with is Edwin Diaz because anybody can pay a reliever 1 year, $15 million. I feel like the contract estimate for Devin for me is a 1+1. There's a player option and it's like he gets $18 million and then there's a player option at 16. Exactly. So it's effectively like a 2 for 34.
And that's where I felt the Diamondbacks kind of slot in there because they can still play.
That can make some sense.
They could play big boy ball without spending big boy money.
Sure.
And I know that they want to. Next up, Robert Suarez. I mean, he's going to be
35. Old, man. He's so old.
I know, but he's still chucking 100. He's coming off a great year, 2.97 ERA. I think he's going to get a good amount of money. Fink has him, or actually Fink didn't, because he didn't make the top 20 free agents. I've seen some big deals being offered to him, or at least some articles that have him in a 4-year range. That's too much. but I do think 3 years, 50 is not crazy. And I know we're not really talking teams because everyone can pay relievers, but this is where I had the Rangers slotting in.
Yeah.
Because they also need a closer. And like Robert Suarez is a closer in this.
Legit. In every sense of the word.
In every sense of the word. I mean, like I think Robert Garcia had 9 saves for them last year. It was kind of a revolving door.
It was by committee, but everybody was good. Like they were in the postseason conversation because their whole bullpen was nasty.
Robert Suarez is anything but a revolving door. Like I think they would love to bring in a guy like that, and he's not crazy expensive. I mean, $50 million over 3 years, they can spin that.
Yeah.
Next up, Ryan Helsley, I think is fascinating. He's actually a guy who I want to buy in on.
Yeah.
4.50 ERA, but if you look, he was having a pretty good year with the Cardinals before getting traded. He put up a 3 ERA. So am I going to completely distance myself from a guy who put up 20 bad innings in a new spot and he was just giving up home runs left and right? Like, no, he still throws gas. He still has fantastic stuff. He is definitely not afraid of the 9th inning. That is a bona fide closer. That's where I feel like the Braves get involved. For a guy like that, where you're kind of buying low on his market, but you're still bringing in a pitcher who has the ability to be one of the best closers in baseball. You go from Raisel Iglesias, you let him walk, who's actually next up, and you hand the reins over to a Ryan Helsley. And I also think if he pitches well, you can kind of stick it to the Mets where it's like, worked here. And there was a reason Dave Stearns brought him in. This is a extremely talented reliever, but he's not very expensive. So that's why I thought potentially going to Atlanta. Helsley ain't going to Atlanta. He complained about the chop and it got it taken away. I don't know if that's accurate.
I have no idea. I haven't heard that story. Helsley seems like a guy that could sign a 2-year deal at one of these places that is almost unassuming. Mm-hmm. Like a place that you're saying, oh, they're spending some money here. Like, could a Pittsburgh pay a Ryan Helsley for 2 years?
I'm not predicting Pittsburgh gets anyone. I'll just be wrong.
Sure. Yeah. So I just look at teams like that, where is Helsley looking for a low stress environment to pop into and be the guy, be promised the 9th inning. There you go.
Yeah, I could see it. And then potentially you could flip him at the deadline too. But I think there's going to be good teams who say, yeah, we're not too worried about you. We want to bring you in.
Yeah.
And last, Raisel Iglesias, coming off another good year. I know he's old, 36 years old, 3.21 ERA, 3.31 FIP, good underlying. This is maybe the Reds again.
Brave. He's just a Brave again.
So you think he just stays in Atlanta?
Get him back. Yeah.
I could see.
They love him.
Yeah.
They love him. He's been good. Brave. I will tell you, a team is going to be really happy giving Pete Fairbanks a 1+1 deal.
I think he's a Dodger. They love their raise.
Yes.
They love their raise. I think Andrew Friedman likes him. Warm weather guy. Remember, he's always bitched about his finger and all that shit. Go pitch in LA. It's going to be nice. And they could turn him into an absolute demon. I like Fairbanks for the Dodgers.
Wow. God, I love that fit. Is that our program? That's our pitcher preview. We've got so much more coming in depth. The Playing GM series starts at the end. No, not the end of next week. We're starting
what is our next scheduled show?
Our next scheduled show is the AL West season in review, or NL West season in review.
Push that. We have to talk trade rumors. There have been so many guys that have been lifted now in the trade market. And I feel like before we start doing that, our next episode should be about where
just identifying every trade candidate.
Maybe not every, but like
identifying the big trade candidates where it's like, could Kodai Senga be moved? Gore, Joe Ryan, guys like that.
Because sometimes the biggest moves are the trades. Like Ketel Marte might get traded. Joe Ryan might get traded. There are a lot of guys who I want to talk about, look at their market, who could actually do it. I mean, Tarek fucking Skubal might get traded.
Yeah, like season in review can wait. We'll do trade candidates next episode.
Perfect. Because everybody was asking too, and I was like, I want to stick on free agency, but I want to answer all of your questions. So we'll do a full episode on all the trade candidates. When is that? Thursday. Be there or be square. And hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode of the Just Baseball Show. And if you are watching it on YouTube, thank you all for joining us. Make sure to smash the like button before you leave. And again, if this is your first time, welcome. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and comment down below what are your favorite or maybe least favorite takes here. And of course, if you're listening to this on audio, best way to support, rate and review 5 stars, whether it be on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. And if you would be so kind as to leave a written review, we would really, really appreciate it. Make sure to go check out justbaseball.com. We have so much free agent stuff going on. Also, you can find in the episode description joining our free agency contest. Super, super fun. Again, you can find that link, put in your predictions, and at the end, the winners will get a prize. And of course, if you want to join our Discord during the offseason, I can't wait to be talking rumors. The rumor mill is already starting in that thing. If you want to join, just $10 a month, less than a price of a sandwich. For Jack McMullen, I am Peter Oppel. We will be back on Thursday to talk trade candidates. I can't wait. And with that, thank you, everybody.